County Board of Supervisors to order. We have an agenda in front of us. Ask for approval if there are no changes.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 2, possible closing of the courthouse building. Based on the letter of concern from the FEH Associates architectural firm. There are copies here if anybody would like to have a copy.
Grab one for me, Leroy, please.
Here, Leroy.
Bob, why don't we just, we're gonna kick this off.
Do you have any more copies?
Yeah, this is a letter from, or an email from Kevin Epperly of FEH Associates. It states, when we explained the events from last night to the team, the structural engineer expressed his concerns. He reported to Don and I that you have a life safety concern with the roof structure. It is our professional responsibility to report this to you. This must be addressed immediately. We will follow up with a formal letter. I suggest you contact the county attorney for his advice on this matter. And of course, this letter is the follow-up letter.
Oh, we didn't get that letter. No, that's this. Not in here.
This one?
Yeah.
We just handed it out.
No, what you handed out was address September 13th, and I didn't see what you just read in it.
No, that's not on there. This was an email from Kevin Epperly.
Right, and he emailed that this morning, I understand.
No, this was the other day.
Might I comment, Madam, or Mr. Chairman?
Certainly.
You know, in light of all of these happenings, it seems like they've happened so suddenly, and, I mean, you know, you were looking at the tours on Monday and the meetings next Monday and Tuesday, and those were canceled when we arrived on the advice of the county attorney, so I would suspect that there had to be some of this information that had been given to somebody prior to this. I did speak with Kevin Epperly on Tuesday morning after your meeting here, and I spoke with him again this morning, and this morning he told me that he'd emailed you, Bob, on either Tuesday or Wednesday,
That's the letter I just read.
and, you know, nobody was privy to that. And then he said that another letter, that he verbally discussed this issue with Joel, and that the letter, the structural report from the engineer was not complete, but that he was sending a letter this morning.
Yep, I got this morning, the one that was just handed out. I just received that this morning.
Right, but the letter you read before was from when?
What's the date on
It's
there?
an email.
It's an
Yeah,
email.
that's right, but it was a letter that was emailed.
What's
Well,
the date on there?
I don't, what's the date?
Is
Yeah,
that Tuesday
please.
or Wednesday?
September 11, 9/11.
Okay.
9/11, Tuesday.
Anyway, at any rate, he said that he had told Joel that he wanted to, that he would be sending this, and I spoke with the auditor yesterday, and he said that he was supposed to be receiving a report that Joel had told him, and it wasn't received then, so I guess I figured it was received today, I don't know, but Mr. Epperly told me this morning that he had wanted to review the letter from the structural engineer, and that Joel, you didn't understand maybe that he was gonna be out of the office yesterday, and that's why it was coming this morning. Now, that's what he told me.
Mhm.
And he said that based on on what they had seen, even though they haven't been, the contract hadn't been signed, that they felt an obligation to give you that information, because they said that the structural engineer felt it was a safety issue. I went back this morning and I looked at the report that you had done last fall, and that also was done by Scott and Anderson, which you seem to be, you know, willing to go by their report. And their report spoke of both rehabilitation and the fact, and a new courthouse. And up until now, that was the report, I guess, that you were going by until FEH came along. And FEH told me the other day, when I called them, that they were throwing all of that out, that they were starting from square one. So, you know, I assume that the $8,500 that was spent for Scott and Anderson was just, you know, a lost cause, correct?
No, not in my book.
Oh, well then apparently you're still going to look at what Scott and Anderson said.
I looked at it this morning. I went back over the years that I've been here and the letters that have been received by this court, or not this court, but this board, even before Bob and I ever got on, from WHKS is saying the same thing. You got problems up in the attic. And that's what kind of basically kicked everything off, along with clerks had to move out in 2004 because that ceiling started failing. Then we had the issue with the brick shortly after that. Then we had issues with the trusses sticking its nose down through the courtroom ceiling. And now we get this, and now the other night I drive down the alley behind the UCC church, and now I see that the cupola is leaning to the north again. And I just went up there and I had my level up there, and Dave and I went up yesterday morning, and sure enough, it's probably out that far in 6 foot. Well, how tall do you think that cupola is? 20? 24 feet? Well, now it's out a few inches.
So you're still going to consider the Scott and Anderson report?
I think the
is that
handwriting's on the wall, Betty. I mean, everybody that we've contacted has come to us and said, you have problems. Now, we get the other day, we all see and I actually got the call from Judge Drew saying that he was moving the courts, closing the courts in Mitchell County. I contacted our insurance company, told them what was all going on, and they basically said, well, if the courts are moving out, you really can't not do the same, because if it's a life safety issue for their folks, it's a life safety issue for the people at the courthouse.
Then I might just add, maybe now is the time, and I guess I'd like to just make this comment, because so often we've heard around the county at the time that the petition was circulated, does Mitchell County really need to build a courthouse? You know, how many years with the declining population will it be before there's a consolidation or merger of counties? So maybe this is the time that we really need to take a close look at what kind of services really do need to be provided in Mitchell County. You know, the court has been moved down to Floyd County. Is there any reason to believe, as we farm out services, the CDL licenses were farmed out a while back, we now are under the clerk of court from Cerro Gordo County. There used to be 4 people in that office full-time. Now there's, what, 1.5 or 1 2/3 or whatever, plus, you know, Karen Parcell coming over. The outsourcing of our tax receipts is done in the treasurer's office. I've just got my notice of my car license, and it looked, I don't know, maybe they do that in-house, but it looked to me to be outsourced. You know, I guess maybe now is the time that, due to public opinion and I mean, you know, the public's concerns, and it looks like taxpayers are gonna be paying for this, because it doesn't look like there's gonna be enough TIF revenue. The levies are substantially below the $26 that Dean Poren figured them at. And, you know, and I know that each year it goes up 5%, Stan, I know that, but so do the bond payments. So I just kind of suspect that there won't be enough for some time. And I guess I just think that maybe now is a good time to really sit down and review exactly what the county needs before we get into a full-blown, you know, state-of-the-art courthouse and so on.
Safe.
No, I want the people to be safe. Joel, the smile, you know, every one of us want people to be safe.
Absolutely. That's why we're sitting here this morning.
And Janelle said that at the meeting at Our Savior's Church, one of your workers spoke about their concern, and she said it, somebody acted like we didn't care. And I know Janelle voiced, absolutely we care. And if it's unsafe, you should move out today. And that was last January, February.
Well, that is the item on the agenda today. Is about the closing of
Mr.
the
Chairman,
courthouse.
can I make one
Yes, sir.
comment? Mrs. McCarthy, you're partially correct on the newspaper article you said, but your total conclusion is incorrect. And I will be having a letter to the editor, not this coming week, because I'll still need a little time to get all of the facts and figures, but I will have one coming. So please be aware of that.
Very good. I based mine on what the auditor has currently, and they've been concerned.
You only put part of it in there, Betty. I will have the full story. Let's leave it at that right now,
Very good.
okay?
So, Joe, what are you guys contemplating? Everybody moving out? I mean, what is this about really?
This
I
is a
mean, I know
possible
you've done
closing
your
of the courthouse
timeline.
building entirely, yes,
Okay.
for safety reasons.
Well, the insurance company said you can't, some here, you can't,
So
some.
do you have an alternative figured out? I mean, do
Right.
you have a
Yesterday,
fix?
we did tour a couple of facilities, one with the court system and one for the county. Nothing's been signed, nothing's been, but we are.
When you say we, who? Because I wasn't aware of
You
any
were
of this.
Clarion. Dave and I, and Bob was there, Karen Parcell, Scott
All
Hand
the
from
clerk
the
of court office,
clerk of the court. And I think Lowell sent out.
Cam from the treasurer's office.
We were out at the plaza. We were looking at the facility out there. The USDA used to be in there and they had quite a large area. It probably won't accommodate the treasurers, the auditors, the recorder, the assessor, and the courts, because they just need more room than, that's available out there. But it is available. It is a place for us to go. And I'm not gonna comment on where the other place is, because I really don't think I should, because the people that own that are out of town, and so that's being looked into by Kevin Colvin. So,
May I just point out that again, I had offered free of charge your use of Washington School, which would accommodate both the courts and the county offices in one place, free of charge, only for you to pay the utilities. And I want everybody to remember that, because I'm re-offering it. It's available to you free of charge, 2 blocks away, with parking, because we're putting in an alley and parking in back, and we continue to do that. And it's free, and you could put everybody in the same place. And the sheriff and everybody else wouldn't have to drive to who knows where. Now, you turned me down flat last time, but
And we will probably do that again today because it's not wired up for the computer systems and everything where the plaza already is. And there's heating and air conditioning out there. I don't know that your building is.
well, it certainly has heating.
Yes,
But you're not gonna need air conditioning for the next 9 months.
we're probably looking at an 18-month to 2 years.
Oh, I'm sure
And
you
maybe
are.
even beyond that, if the referendum doesn't pass, then
But this would give you a
then we'll
place
probably
to
be living
go.
at the plaza for a number of years or whatever.
But if you can't put everything in the same place, that's a disaster. And you can over here.
The other problem now we run into, and when we leave this building, before anything that can be done with this building, it has to have an environmental assessment done to it. Well, I've heard instances where now this building is suddenly unsafe. How are we going to make it safe for the environmental people to come in and do their work? Are we gonna have to do a lot of repairs and shoring up and speak to the concerns of the engineer? I think we beat this thing to death going down for the last, 6 years, going up for near 6 years. I mean,
Here's what we've been here.
How much does the plaza cost?
That I haven't gotten that number yet either. I said that was, after this meeting today, I'll have to talk to Kevin and see, you know, what the
Well,
numbers are going to be.
can
But
I just say something, just for peace of mind, can you at least keep it on the table to consider rather than
consider what?
consider Mary's offer? Just keep it on the table, just out of politeness. I mean, it's not,
Is it handicapped accessible?
Yes.
Yes, and it has a handicap, it has a wonderful huge elevator, which is handicapped accessible.
rather than just turning her down point blank, can you at least consider it? Keep it on the table along with the plaza.
We've looked at the Washington building twice. I just don't feel it's a viable option.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, it's gonna cost a lot of money to move everybody out to the plaza, if that's where you go, plus the cost of the rent out there. Was this in the budget? Was this something you anticipated, or where is the money gonna come from to do this? Out of your 99s, and then you're gonna amend the budget?
Probably correct.
What am I hearing? Am I hearing that you want us to stay here, knowing what we know?
I don't think so.
Does the county have the authority, Mark, to, and would this be an emergency situation? Could we,
Could you what?
could we spend money?
I don't think you have any choice.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. I mean,
I'm just gonna say just a few things. Number one, I had a conversation with one of the supervisors, and he said, we're between a rock and a hard place, whether we move or not. And I said, there is no rock, there is no hard place, you need to move. And I said, if anybody says, no, you don't need to move, I said, I'll be willing to prepare a document that they can sign that says they agree to be civilly liable and they agree to be criminally liable if anybody gets hurt here.
Supervisor's office.
This is a safety concern. This has nothing to do with the courthouse is going to be destroyed. There's going to be a new courthouse built. You know, in fact, if the bond doesn't pass, it would make it easier to remodel the courthouse with nobody being in here. So this has nothing to do with whether the courthouse is going to be destroyed, a new courthouse built. In my opinion, this has to do with one thing, and it's the safety of the employees. And when you get a report from an engineer who says it's a life safety concern, you better address that seriously. So I don't, as the county attorney, my opinion is you have no choice. You move out of here.
Any motion?
Can I ask a quick question, just as a point of clarification?
Go
Why
ahead.
would that environmental assessment need to be done?
You can't remodel this unless you do it
Oh,
environmentally.
for a restoration, is what you're
Restoration
saying?
or demolition, if you're gonna.
Or
tear it-
demolition.
Or demolition.
Or demolition,
It's still
okay.
gotta be done.
That's my one.
I'm looking
There's
for-
asbestos in here, there's lead paint, there's who knows what, you know, and when I talked to the environmentalist at that time, he mentioned too that he says it would be a whole lot easier if you were out of here. And they were looking at some, possibly 3,500 samples that would have to be taken. And then he identified, like in the break room, the little 9x9 tiles, those are asbestos, and he said there's more asbestos in the cement that was putting them down. So all that has to be taken out of here, and you could be looking at somewhere in the vicinity to do the environmental study, if I might remember right, possibly up to $65,000, just to do that study before you can move forward either way we go.
Say, Joe, I've never seen in supervisor's minutes or in the newspaper articles very much consideration of merging counties. And it's hard for me to believe that the county can spend $6-7 million for less than 11,000 people. I mean, that just can be pretty expensive. And with technology and better technology coming, I don't think people need to come to the courthouse. Hardly ever, unless somebody gets sued, I suppose, need a courtroom, but you can put that somewhere. But, you know, the merging of the counties, I think is a thing that should be at least looked at. But nobody seems to want to do that.
I think that's more of a state issue, isn't it?
Do we have
It
that?
probably is, but you,
And that's not the issue here today, Don,
I'd like to-
as Mark said, so go
Well-
Because
ahead.
I always
Go
tell
ahead.
everybody, you know, they say we don't need 99 counties, correct? I don't know that Floyd and Howard wanna come over to Mitchell County, because we're gonna have, probably maybe have a better facility, you know?
Cause I always
Do you wanna
wanted
go to Howard
to
County,
merge.
which I've talked
I wanted to merge Worth and Mitchell and build a courthouse in Carpenter.
And then the other, right, Don, but the other thing too, then do we need 50 states? I mean, we got little Rhode Island out there that's smaller than some of the
Well,
counties and some of the states.
That's beyond this rule.
Well, exactly. Those are
Mr. Mayor?
things that we cannot decide here today. These are nothing to do with this. Our problem is this building. And as much as I'd like to have this all go away, I can't make it go away, so.
I'm in agreement with what the county attorney said, Joel, and I just would like to ask this question. The item that'll be on the ballot, and I guess the ballots have been printed, it's gone to press, is that correct, Lowell?
Just the proofs have just arrived today.
But anyway, the petition called for the 6.5 million, like your legal. And I guess, you know, then if that passes, then I don't think that's enough money to do all of these things that were under that, you know, the loan agreement, because it said the demolition of, the equipping of, the building of, and, you know, other related things. So, how would we come up with the additional, or, you know, do you really think that's enough money? And the
That
relocation, I don't think it is.
That question's been brought up, and like I said before, when it was time to come up with that particular number, excuse me, I basically based it off of what the new, well, whatever Gallagher said this courthouse is worth today, and that they had to replace it. It was like $4.5 million. So you take that times the square footage we got, and the extra square footage that the studies said that we needed, well, then that's where you come up with the $6.5 million. But also in that Scott and Anderson report, they had in theirs a $400,000 to $450,000 item for moving and
But
no,
they
I don't
said
know.
that didn't
I don't think
include,
demolition
Just for
was in there.
moving,
yeah, that
Just-
didn't include the
I
cost of
think maybe
moving
that
everything.
environmental.
environmental study.
I'll have to go back and look at that, but
I have it here, and it doesn't, you know,
was it 450? You
it
got
made special notice that the 4.2 million didn't include the cost of moving,
But
and it
there
didn't
was
cost
a-
it didn't have the demolition.
I don't have it, but there was on one of the back pages towards the bottom, there, you'll see $400,000 to $450,000.
Yeah, it says right here, it says approximately 4,200,000 to 4,400,000 for the construction materials, typical cost of building construction materials and space needs listed above. And then an additional 400,000 to 450,000 should be allocated for relocation costs, environmental abatement, and demolition of the existing
Demolition was
courthouse.
in there.
Yeah,
So that's in.
so about 500,000,
That's in that estimate.
or about 5 million, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's just for the square footage we have,
yeah.
you know. So then that's how come I got, figured, well, all right. I had to keep it down because Bob and Stan were saying we're not gonna spend too much money.
But, you know, you gotta be realistic
Well,
to the
and-
people, I mean, you know, that
And in
this,
talking with
yeah.
the FEH folks through everything, that was one of the things that they wanted to do with the public and bring everybody in and have everybody give their opinions, what they thought should be done, you know, whether or not the courthouse should even be in this location or not. They would explore every one of those. And then they would also come up with what does the county actually want for their goals and stuff, and that's when the final number would show up. Because they also questioned that $6.5 million. You know, can you do it for that? I said, well, can we do it for that? Well,
Well,
what
I
do you want?
suspect that just tearing a demolition would cost $500,000. I mean, you gotta get rid of all the material, you know,
Well, on Mary's building over there, the demolition was $250,000. I think the environmental was $50,000.
But it's a different building.
That's a brick building.
Yeah, right.
That's $250,000.
It's a lot newer than this.
Right, it's $250,000, but I don't think this will cost $250,000. And
I don't know.
But,
Well,
but the,
we're arguing
Well,
about
something,
things
no,
that,
just let me say that you've got 6.5 on the ballot.
Right.
And if you think that's not the right you know, if it passes, it won't work. If
We'll
you
get so
get,
far.
which I don't think you will, I think people are gonna vote no because they're sick and tired of all this, but, the 6.5 million, what are you gonna do if that's all the bonds you can issue?
Well, I guess we stay at the plaza.
Cheaper at the school.
The,
But you're
the
remodeling.
the last sentence of the letter says, "These conditions pose a potentially dangerous condition and a life safety concern that warrants a detailed review and analysis of the structural integrity of the roof framing and north wall." Is that work going on, and will we get a report back, or basically the concern did not trigger more structural analysis?
I doubt we'll get that report unless we have a signed contract and start paying somebody to do that.
Well, Kurt, we can't do that. We can't spend any money until after the referendum,
Right.
right? Correct? Then everything may go back to zero.
Okay.
But you go back 2 years, we had Stan Stallsmith from WHKS over here, who wanted to do exactly what these people
Right.
are recommending today. But that was gonna cost somewhere in the vicinity of $69,000 or $79,000, and everybody threw up their arms and said, ooh, we don't wanna spend that, we know it's not in very good shape, so let's just move on some other avenue. But I'll still go back to that. My thought is you still need to, no, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't need to spend that money, I don't know. It's just my opinion.
Right.
I would really have liked to know.
I mean, they basically say that this is a concern, but we really don't know until we do more. And I agree with the decision
They
that,
physically want to measure everything, they physically
Right.
want to see what type of wood species they're looking at, how much that wood will, basically deflect or support, it's a big difference between Douglas fir
You bet.
and sugar pine.
You bet.
Or in this case, box elder and beechwood or whatever,
so the new information is really based in large measure on a sort of a cursory look that says, to know for sure, we have to do more work that is not now envisioned. Am I right on that? Based on what you just said?
Right, but that idea went out the window over a year ago.
When you turn down the grant this
But
year.
it's possible.
No, Penny, that grant, you worked with Stan Stallsmith, and don't ever say that.
No, the grant this year we had.
That grant was gonna get you a 3-ring binder and some pictures and a narrative.
no, it
It's a
wasn't.
master plan. What should you do next?
No,
Okay.
But it's
Never mind.
possible, it's possible.
That's it, all we're doing is arguing.
I know, I
right,
looked-
let's go talk about moving out.
But it's possible that a detailed analysis would say, structurally, this
But I don't
is,
think we're gonna get that, Kurt,
Right.
until we start paying somebody with, and we have
understand.
to have a contract to do that, and we cannot do that.
I understand. So
Okay.
this letter
It's
did
a letter
not,
of concern.
but this letter is an unpaid for opinion. Am I
It says
correct?
that right at the beginning,
Okay.
Well, one of the things,
proceeding without contract.
one of the things with your professionals like that, engineers, that they do run across and they are looking at your building, they are obligated to tell you that there is a problem.
Right, no, I understand that.
They
Okay.
can't not tell you.
One more question.
Well, I
Judy.
just agree with the idea that you move out today or yesterday or tomorrow because of the safety concerns. You're gonna have to move out one way or the other. If you're gonna rehab, you're gonna have to move out. If you're gonna build new, you have to move out. So I'd like to see it happen now. And then after the election, you can proceed one way or the other. So I'm in agreement with
You are in
moving
favor
out.
of us moving out.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah,
everybody's.
if
I think
there's
everybody
a
is.
sense
All we need is a
of-
motion.
Well, I'll make a motion that this courthouse, let's see, how would we word that?
Evacuate.
That we move out, and move to a different facility as soon as feasibly possible. We know we can't move out this afternoon, and
A lot of logistics that have to be taken
there's a
care
lot
of.
of logistics that have to be, but as soon as feasibly possible, that we move everybody out of our courthouse.
Well, we don't have a location in mind, right? I mean, we
I'm
have some,
99% sure that the plaza is where,
but we don't know
We don't have
necessarily
it-
for
have
sure.
it
There could be
secured.
other options, is that correct? I mean,
Why
we
not?
would
What
take
other-
we would have a little time to look for some other options. I mean, because like you say, we can't move out tomorrow anyway.
Might be something in St. Ansgar.
have to,
Well,
I'll meet with Kevin this afternoon, and he was gonna have the numbers and stuff, and I talked to Brenda, because she does that, about commercial property and this, that, and the other thing, and that. And the folks at the courthouse, we all toured out there, there's space pretty much for everybody except for the courts. The courts, we're working on another location, which is, they said would fit them well, so that the courts can stay in the city, except for criminal court, which would always be taken out.
But as of today yet, I mean, all options would be open yet.
Well, and then the fact that my motion says we'll be moving to the plaza if it's available. I'm not gonna go looking up and down the street. We asked, where do you wanna move to?
I don't have any,
CRC?
I don't have any. All I want is,
Well,
you said there might be some other options. I think we have to have options
well, not for
available
the courthouse. I was talking about the courts.
Huh?
Where's the criminal court moving?
They'll be out of, they won't. Unless there's a courthouse here, you'll never have a criminal court case.
Right. So it's going to another county.
Right.
Which one?
Floyd.
Floyd.
Now we have a motion.
Is,
Do we have
don't
a
you think
second?
it'd be good to at least have an end date,
the
otherwise this
motion.
could go on and on
As soon
and
as-
on.
Joel made a motion that the courthouse offices move to another facility as feasibly possible, or something to that effect.
As soon as possible.
Well,
As soon-
I guess I'd change that motion to the plaza, if available. Because it's all one level. There's 3 entrances. There's plenty of parking. There's a restaurant and a store out there too.
I'll make the second then, if there is another one. Roll call vote. Wolflander?
Aye.
Morel? Aye. Walk?
Guess I'd like all options open, nay.
Stan, you come up with an option?
Okay, motion carried. Thank you.
Is it? He just called.
Yeah, but a note, I think I'm gonna
Are we adjourned?
I just said
have a date like this, but not after October 1st or something.
My only concern is that between now and Tuesday, we
That
found
gives the
something else.
employees some idea.
Well, then we could rescind our motion. and
Well,
move it
that's
elsewhere.